The Audio Beacon, February 2021. A Silent Reflection. Some of you will recall the 2 TV series that came out of Worth Abbey, when Abbot Christopher Jameson became a welcome virtual visitor to our homes. Both series welcomed a group of people, totally unrelated, completely diverse. People who were searching, but uncertain just what for, with no clarity on where that search may lead them. Worth Abbey, together with the guidance of Abbot Christopher and other monks who live there, opened up an opportunity to listen to the experiences of others, to read, a time to be quiet with all mobile devices removed. Given that our life is full of distraction, a time to be quiet, maybe to be silent, feels important for us all, and it was 4 years ago that I too found my way to Worth Abbey. It was a special place for sure, offering worship without having had to prepare, together with the quiet of the surrounding area with country walks. As a whole, it was somehow easier to be in tune with the glory of God all around. The monks at Worth follow the rule of St. Benedict, where the gospel of Christ is expressed through a community life of prayer and service. Hospitality is important to the rule and is lived out by the monks and absolutely demonstrated in their welcome to me and their care during my stay. I felt very privileged to be able to stay in accommodation adjoining their own, with access to the Abbey Church through a door virtually adjoining my room. Meals were simple but wholesome and taken while listening either to one of the monks reading or to some music chosen and introduced by them. The monks would take it in turn to wait at tables. Mealtimes started and closed in prayer. Worship began at 6:20 in the morning with matins and concluded at 9 in the evening with compline. In between, there were 8 other opportunities to share in the prayer/worship life of the Abbey. Liturgy was largely sung, absolutely beautifully I might add. I wondered if to become a monk you needed to be able to sing. I don't know the answer, but I doubt it. But they truly could sing well. They have fantastic grounds, including what appears to be a never-ending forest. When I was there, huge swathes of the forest floor were carpeted with bluebells. There were signs that deer roamed, although I never saw them. The bracken was high, so offering plenty of hiding places. Also close to the Abbey was their own quiet garden, wildlife, water and fauna, and of course, peace and quiet. Lots of it. My stay was in silence, other than when in worship, and also after lunch on those 2 days when there is the opportunity to take a coffee with the community of monks and to chat with them. They were interested to hear about our parish life compared to that of the Abbey Church. I was very pleased to witness their humour firsthand, a certain amount of leg-pulling over just who had eaten all the chocolates. Also, that Turkish delight was a favourite, but played havoc with their black habits, and the teasing of one of their own who was going out to tea with the girls, former colleagues from his time as chaplain to Gatwick Airport. It was time very well spent, and perhaps best summed up in the following words from the prologue to the Rule of St. Benedict. Listen carefully, my son, to the Master's instructions, and attend to them with the ear of your heart. This is advice from a father who loves you. Welcome it and faithfully put it into practice. As we move into the season of Lent, I pray that such an opportunity may be given to each one of us. With every blessing, Reverend Tim. Come and see. This Lent, churches in Walbury and Benefice will be offering an invitational opportunity to come and see. Using online material developed by the Diocese of Oxford, we'll join together via Zoom for the 5 weeks of Lent, week commencing 22nd of February, with an opportunity to think and reflect on the material we have read and seen, to consider how this relates to us and speaks to our own experiences. We cannot be sure where the conversation will lead us, but we warmly invite you to come and see. The Bishop of Reading, Olivia Graham, writes this, based on a passage from John's Gospel, chapter 1. When Jesus turned and saw them following, he said to them, What are you looking for? They said to him, Rabbi, which translated means teacher, what are you saying? He said to them, Come and see. Bishop Olivia asks, What's going on in this passage from John's Gospel? What do we see and hear? What were they looking for? Why were they following behind Jesus? They might have been scribes or Pharisees, concerned about the detail of the law, wanting to have complicated conversations about how to interpret it. They might have been ambitious political operators, like the Sadducees, looking for power and position. Or they might just have been ordinary human beings, wondering or looking for something a bit exciting and different. There were lots of agendas around at that time, lots of different starting points, just like there are today. What are people looking for today? We're evaluating the material as it comes out. We hope this may give us, the church here in Walbury Beacon, an opportunity to connect afresh with our local communities and the many people who may be looking for something and will come and see with us. Do please continue to watch the website and our weekly emails for more detail and also an invitation to sign up. Anglican commemorations in February. 16th of February, Thomas Bray. Born 7 years after the execution of Charles I, and in his early 30s when the bloodless revolution saw William and Mary displace James II, Thomas Bray, like his contemporaries, was accustomed to a world in which the very foundations of society were shaken on a regular basis. Yet, in just a few years, Thomas Bray had founded two closely linked societies, SPCK and SPG, now USPG, that have had a profound impact globally and continue to thrive over 300 years later. Thomas had a deep commitment to the importance of education, especially in the schooling of the young, and making books and libraries accessible. His gifts were enlisted to invigorate life in the colonies, Maryland in particular. Bray recruited a significant number of clergy and built the capacity of the church through endowment and investment in schools and libraries. This led to the creation of SPCK in 1698. Bray was an unusually practical man of action, deeply committed to a reasoned and undogmatic Christianity. In an uncertain and polarised age of profound political and religious differences, he coaxed high and low, Tory and Whig within the Church of England to assist him in his cause. In just 5 years, 84 schools had been founded, and by 1721 this number had grown to 1,784. The SPCK shop in Winchester supplied the Newbury Christian Training Scheme with many books and held a bookstall at all diocesan reader gatherings. Kintbury had a regular bookstall. Thank you, Thomas. 17th of February, Janani Lewum. In 1977, Idi Amin accused Archbishop Janani Lewum of treason after he delivered a note of protest about the arbitrary killing and disappearance of many persons. He was arrested with 2 other cabinet Christians, placed in a Land Rover and never seen again. His friends believe he was beaten and shot. His body, placed in a sealed coffin, was sent to his village, but the villagers opened the coffin and discovered bullet holes. 4,500 people gathered in Kampala for a memorial service, and the Archbishop was buried next to the martyred Bishop Hannington. His widow and children fled to Kenya. 25,000 Ugandans came to the capital to celebrate the centennial of the first preaching of the gospel in their country. Among the participants were many who had abandoned Christianity, but who had returned to their faith as a result of seeing the courage of Archbishop Lewum and his companions in the face of death. February in the past of the Benefice. Inkpen received much praise in 1899. Circuit leaders, I am presuming of the Methodist Church, cycled to Inkpen. They found a schoolroom full of people and tea. The entire absence of stiffness and formality could not be surpassed, even in Yorkshire Methodism. Whilst, in 1878, a want long felt by the inhabitants of Kintbury has been remedied by the making of a siding at the station for goods trains. Goods will be delivered which have heretofore been brought to Hungerford. The only excitement West Woody experienced in February happened in 1870 with the shooting, after many attempts, of a leucistic crow. One does wonder why it had to be shot. These days, twitchers will be ticking it off a list. William Winterbourne Commemoration 2021. Sadly not as commemorated in previous years, but 6 of us, socially distanced, took part in a Zoomed service. Jenny showed the relevant parts of the church and churchyard, Keith, in Reading, described the swing riots. Will gave an impassioned account of William's arrest and conviction. At noon, we observed a minute's silence, and Tim prayed for justice in our time. Teresa, a direct descendant of William, placed flowers by the stone. An account of the execution by a young witness was read. The Reading folk singer Jeremy Jones ended the commemoration by singing a song of his own composition, a powerful and emotional account of William and his sad fate. Birding through my window. The mealworm dilemma. Still pretty much confined to watching bird life through a window or open patio door, I have been trying to maximise the number of birds I can attract to my array of feeders in the garden. An online catalogue featured something I had not seen before: mealworm feeders and packets of mealworms to put in them. Lovely, I thought. Mealworms get mentioned on Springwatch as some sort of delicacy, so I'll get one of those. It'll be something different. The feeder, plus mealworms, duly arrived, and I was delighted. Very similar to others, but with a larger tray to allow the mealworms to drop and for a bird to perch whilst eating from it. I was keen to fill it up and see if the neighbourhood bird life shared my enthusiasm. My family, however, did not. Apparently, the mealworms look disgusting. I mean, they look like little worms, and dried up, and dead. No one would appreciate that these features were a distinct advantage. At least I had not ordered something live and wriggling. Undeterred, the new feeder was hung up next to the others, and I waited to see the reception it got from our local birds. I am pleased to say that the mealworms were well received. The starlings, in particular, could not get enough of them, and returned until all had gone. When they could get a beak in, blue tits, similarly, appreciated what was on offer. The only problem seems to be that our birds cannot get enough of them. I just wish the rest of my family felt the same. Gateway to spring. At this time of year, the prospect of the coming springtime should fill the hearts and minds of country dwellers with a mixture of joy and elation. In some gardens, or even on banks and under trees, you can find the first show of the delicate and usually pure white snowdrop. Foxgrove is a joy to behold at this time of year. Before long, these snowdrops are followed by crocus, aconites, cyclamen, and the earliest daffodils. On roadside banks, under hedges, and in private gardens, these, with the wallflowers and cheiranthus, provide a wonderful display. For other gardeners, the eye is drawn to the yellow, showing lesser celandine, normally found on country banks and ditches. Trained to a small clump, add variety to an early spring garden. In other flowering beds, the standard hellebore is in bloom between Christmas and spring, followed a little later by its associate, the Lenten rose. As the country is struggling against the unseen scourge of COVID, it is good to seek out the many plants and colours to brighten and cheer us up as we await the warmer and lighter days that will follow. Nature and the countryside can inspire us all with hope, so blessings to you all. Enborn Countryman. February services. The next few Sundays will be Zoom services only, following advice from the diocese and conversations with our church wardens. Do please keep an eye on your emails and our website for details and any changes. Please note the new time of 9:45 a.m. A prayer to finish for the new year, which is taken from the C of E Comfort and Joy booklet for New Year's Day. Loving God, this new year, guide my feet, comfort my head, and strengthen my will, that with your hand to lead, we may build a better world. Amen. Tim and the ministry team. End thought. The painful things that happen to us are not punishments for our misbehaviour, nor are they in any way part of some grand design on God's part. Because the tragedy is not God's will. We need not feel hurt or betrayed by God when tragedy strikes. We can turn to Him for help in overcoming it, precisely because we can tell ourselves that God is as outraged by it as we are. Harold Kushner.